Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today, let's dye a reverse dyed flannel shirt. If you remember a few days ago, I posted a video showing how I used White Brite on some black and white flannel shirts. So one of the shirts I tied up and I removed the color from, and I wasn't totally happy because I removed actually a little too much color from the shirt. So I decided to go ahead and just remove the rest of the color and dye the shirt up. So this part is going to go really fast because this is just kind of doing a refresher course on what I did to the shirt the first time I removed the color without White Brite. I'll leave a link down below in the description for this video for where you can watch the other video which shows exactly what I did to the shirt before I reverse dyed it the second time. Okay, so here's what the shirt looks like after I reverse dyed it without White Brite the first time. I like the shirt, but it doesn't have either enough color removed or enough color left. It's kind of in the middle. So I thought I would just go ahead and remove the rest of the color and apply dye over the top. It's already dark outside, so this time I'm having to use the White Brite in the garage over my utility sink. By the way, I prefer to use it outside, partially because of the smell and the fumes. I'm also wearing my respirator for this entire process, and I have the garage door open. I just sprinkled some White Brite over the top of the shirts, poured boiling hot water on top of them, and then added a little additional White Brite to the top. I think I only left the shirt in here maybe another 5 or 6 minutes, just to get out some of the really dark black areas that I had left after the first time. Then I rinsed the shirt in cold water and went ahead and put it in my washing machine along with a little bit of Dharma's textile detergent and washed it using a cold water cycle. Then I put the shirt into my soda ash container and allowed it to soak for about 30 minutes. By the way, I do enough reverse dyeing that I have a soda ash bucket that I use specifically for reverse dyed shirts, because whenever you put a shirt that has had color in it, sometimes some of that residual color will come out inside of the soda ash solution. I don't want to contaminate my main soda ash solution that I use for white shirts, so I have another soda ash bucket that I use for shirts that have been reverse dyed or that have been previously dyed. If they leave too much color behind, I'll go ahead and change out that soda ash solution right afterwards too. Then I spun the shirt out on my Panda spin dryer. I'm going to go ahead and scrunch it again and hold the folds in place with some rubber bands. I just got a new batch of dye spin colors, so I've been making some color swatches and I have a whole bunch of small amounts of dye left over. I thought I would try to use this flannel as kind of a cleanup for some of those colors. I only have about 1/4 cup of each color of dye. The first color is Irish Green, and as you can see when I'm applying it on the shirt, it is really soaking up the dye. These flannels take so much dye, they're almost kind of like dyeing a hoodie. I mean, they just really soak up the dye. The next color is Margarita, and this is a really bright, like lime green type color. It's a really cool color. Next, I'm using Willow. The next color is Dark Forest. I know that this side is not totally saturated, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it over and add the same colors to the back side. I want to make sure I at least get the same colors applied to both sides of the shirt. The final color that I'm going to add to both sides is a color called the dark side. Okay, so I went ahead and I put the shirt down inside of the container where I was going to process it, and I still was not comfortable with how little dye there was on the shirt. So I went ahead and pulled some of the other dye colors that I had mixed up and decided to use them on the shirt too. Initially, I wanted to keep this shirt just different shades of green, but I decided to go ahead and incorporate some of the blues that I had mixed up just because the shirt really needs a lot more dye added to it. So I started by adding Royal Blue from Dye Spin, followed by Nightfall from Dye Spin, I keep checking the shirt and it still needs more dye. So I'm going to add Wintergreen from Dye Spin, and the last little bit of liquid dye I have mixed is Viridian Blue from Grateful Dyes. Okay, so I put the shirt aside and I left it for just a few hours while I was trying to decide what to do about it. And I finally decided, hey, let's just ice dye on top of it. That way, if nothing else, the ice is going to force some of the extra liquid through the shirt. It may dilute the color a little bit, but I used a lot of really dark colors on the shirt. So this is my last ditch effort to get this shirt fully saturated. I'm adding quite a bit of ice to it too because, like I said, this is a really absorbent, thick shirt. Then over the top of the ice, I'm going to add a little bit of Custom Colors Forest Green, along with a little sprinkle of dry soda ash. I put the shirt aside and I allowed all of the ice to melt, and then I left it for at least 24 hours after the ice melted. So here's what the shirt looked like when I stuck it in my sink to begin rinsing it. I went ahead and rinsed the shirt like normal. I started out in cold water just to get out any of the soda ash. Then I gradually warmed the water up to hot to rinse out any of the excess dye. Because the shirt is so thick, after rinsing for a little while, I added some hot water to my utility sink along with a little bit of Blue Dawn dish detergent, and I just allowed the shirt to soak. I would change the water out when the water would cool off and continued the soaking process until the water was almost clear. Then I put the shirt along with a little bit of Dharma's textile detergent into my washing machine and washed it using a hot water cycle. And then after it was washed and dried, this is what it looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think? So I definitely think I ended up getting it fully saturated. And so I'm really glad that I kept adding dye on top. I think if I would have just added the liquid dye, there would be quite a bit of the original color of shirt showing. So I'm glad I went ahead and ice dyed it. Because the dye soaked into the shirt as quickly as it did, I kind of have a lot of spots of different colors instead of it being smooth and kind of blending together. The shirt was damp when I applied the liquid dye too, by the way. It just soaked the dye up so quickly it didn't have an opportunity to spread and run. You can see some of the various colors on the shirt though, and I think that's cool. I mean, I can see the royal blue, the margarita, all the different liquid dyed colors that I used on the shirt. I actually think that the design in the shirt is kind of interesting. I like the blotchiness a little bit. And then there are some smoother, more blended areas where the ice went in and kind of smoothed some of the colors out and blended some colors together. I think the combination of both looks really cool. You also wouldn't know by looking at this shirt that it was ever a plaid shirt. I can't even see any of the taupe plaid showing through. The shirt is pretty much solid green and blue. That kind of surprised me a little bit. I thought I would still be able to see some sort of a pattern through the shirt, but I can't really. So if you ever want to dye a flannel shirt and you want to use some darker colors, using the Out White Brite on a flannel first and then applying the dye over the top seems to work really well. So overall, I really like the way the shirt turned out. I seriously doubt that anybody would ever guess that this started out as a black and white plaid shirt. It's amazing how a little bit of Out White Brite, liquid, and ice dye can change the look of a shirt. So if you guys have enjoyed the content of this video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.